Hello, this is Dale Matthews, and welcome to Inside News. Tonight only, we have Mike Jones with us. Hello, Mike. Welcome to the show for the first time, sir.
Yes. Hey, Dale. How's it going? This is an exciting evening because Dale is in full and complete control. He's got the setup. He has two monitors there. He's monitoring the transmission. He has control over the vertical and the horizontal.
Oh, very good. Nice reference there, bud.
This is going to be good, and it's like you will probably note that the quality of the video that is played is a little bit better because usually when I'm streaming it from my house, you're getting only the quality that the bandwidth that I have will give you. And Dale's bandwidth is a little better than mine generally most of the time. And so you should see a marked improvement in the video quality, and that's going to be a good thing.
Well, Mike is being very nice about it, but what he means is I'm just a little bit sharper than he is.
Yeah, well, who helped set up this whole gig here?
Well, that's true. That's true. Yes. Mike knows this stuff, and I have done a number of these kinds of things in the past, but not this one in particular. And so, if there's any errors in cutting and such things, dissolving, that'll be my fault. Right.
Okay. Oh, I thought you were going to blame that on me, since okay.
No. All right. No. I want to introduce our audience who may or may not know this lady. Her name is Catherine Austin. Catherine Austin said some really smart things at the Cave Junction County Commissioners Town Hall meeting the other day. And my favorite part is after her questions, Keith Heck looked like this. He was not a happy guy. She asked him questions about ethics. And Keith doesn't like that because Keith is a lofty individual that's a county commissioner, and the mere fact that a regular citizen could possibly ask Keith questions that would make him look like this just makes me, what's the word that he often uses? Chortle? Mm-hmm. Kind of did.
Yes.
Yeah.
With joy.
So what we're going to do is we're going to play for you some footage. Oh, that monitor is bouncing a little bit. I will fix that later. We're going to play some.
To fix that for some time now.
I have. I finally got the other monitor over there. So yes. We have some footage for you from that. And we're going to stop and start it and laugh and marvel and guffaw as much as we want to. So we'll see. Okay. Here is Catherine Austin asking questions at the Cave Junction meeting. It only happens once per quarter with the county commissioners, and for reasons that surpass understanding, they feel like it's necessary to say something, but she's going to get her time and not let them interrupt her. All right, Here we go.
So I have a couple of things I'd like to touch on. One is the need for the public to be more involved in government. We pay the government. The government works for us. You're public servants. It's really nice getting to talk to you one-on-one on the same level. When you sit up on the podium at the Ann Basker, it feels like you're the king and we're the servants, subjects, I just really got to let you know. And having a lot of people show up, the demeanor really changes. That when it's a few people that are just always trying to bring in the issues and you get irritated. I almost feel like there's contempt at times.
Hey! She almost feels, Mike, as if there's contempt at times. You ever get that feeling?
No, I have no idea what she's talking about.
Yeah, this thing about them sitting above us, it bothers me too. And I've mentioned this to Mike in the past. It seems to me that if they're really our public servants, that they ought to be down, not so low that you can't see them, although lower than us would be good. No, I'm kidding. They could easily just come on down, as we've done in other meetings too, where there's like a budget meeting, and sit down somewhere near the same level, or maybe they're at the podium. Here's what I would like to see. I would like to see the public in their seats and the commissioners at podiums, and they're answering our questions. They're briefing us. It's a business session where these elected people are briefing the stockholders, the stakeholders in the community, and they're saying, you are the bosses, you have this stock, the stake in this company, and we're going to give you a business report. And then when the department heads come, they're not facing the commissioners. Who's boss around here? They're facing us. The commissioners can watch and ask questions, but they face the stockholders, us. It's a business. Let's treat it as if we're the people in charge. Mike?
All right. That sits fine with me. I have no problem with what you just said.
Well, I appreciate that very much. So now that we solved that pressing problem, let's hear more from Catherine Austin.
But, you know, I'd like to say, you know, Simon's not here tonight. It's too bad. I think he's in the treatment program. Is that correct? Yeah.
I couldn't be here tonight.
He couldn't be here. Really too bad. Local community not able to see Simon. You know, we're
I commitments that we have to be to. So.
Yeah. Well, you know, also, you guys have also been cited by the State Ethics Board for a whole slew of violations regarding meetings, and you guys failed to show up at the hearing where you had your opportunity to say your piece in it. And I know you're denying it, Mr. Keith Heck. You are on record of saying, "I know we're breaking the law, and I don't care." So please just hold it. Wait, I'm going to talk. It's my turn. Okay. And, you know, and you know, you guys, you're not the most ethical people, but you know what? All of us. I'm not here to throw the stone, but let's just be honest, okay? We're all people. We all are imperfect, but let's get real. We're paying you guys. We need you to work for us and be straight with us. We know you guys get in with people like the Rotary Club and stuff, and they all influence you, and they have their agendas, and all the issues we've had at the airport with Larry Graves, it's the same kind of thing. You guys talk to people and come up with ideas, and it doesn't come from the people. It comes from the top down. You know, power corrupts. Absolute power corrupts absolutely.
Yeah, well, one of the things she was talking about is that these decisions out at the airport, at the Ivy Airport, with the helicopter guys, and the previous ones with Manor Development, were made with very little, well, it wasn't made with little public input, because there was a lot of public input, but Mike was there for some of these things. What was the reaction to the public giving them input about Manor Development? You were there for those.
Well, I mean, I guess they didn't really care that much. They were going to do it anyway. I think it was, you know, they had pretty well predetermined that that's what they were going to do. And it wasn't really going to be, you know, it was open to public comment, but they didn't, you know, they weren't going to be swayed by people. You know, I hope you corrected her on the, Keith Heck being on record about that, because he isn't actually on record about saying I know we're breaking the law and I don't care. That was something that took place not on the record, and that's the only reason why he said it. If there was a record rolling at that time, he never would have said that.
I don't know. Sometimes they say some pretty incredible things, but yes, you could. But he repeated it 3 times. But the other thing about
but not on the record, and I'm sure
not on the record.
Said that. Yes.
It's on the record that he did say it. It's on the record from me, because I'm the one that heard him. The interesting thing is he's never denied saying that. I must have said this, I don't know, about a dozen times. He's never said, no, I never said that. He easily could, but he never has. What he has said, and we listened to the tape of the OGEC, he said several times that they haven't found us guilty. Yes, they have. Yeah. And she pointed out quite rightly that they could have gone to that, and they could have testified, and they didn't need to say to their lawyer, don't even call them during this thing, because we heard that there was somebody who called in on the phone and was testifying, didn't even need to go there. That didn't
Right.
happen either.
Right.
So the idea now, oh, we're blameless because we didn't get a chance to testify. Yes, you did. And we're in the penalty phase. We're no longer the investigation phase with investigators, as Cheryl put it, looking into us. What a bunch of bull that is.
Yeah, and you kind of wonder. I mean, what is the holdup on that? You know,
they're waiting for the election.
The killers have arrived at my house. Apparently, yes.
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 I think that there's a good chance that they're deciding to wait till after the election before they announce the penalty.
Wow. Well, that's an awfully long time. I would have to say.
Well, after the primary, it would be 4 more months. It took them years to get around to accepting any of the reports we're turning in, and we've turned in worse stuff than this about them. This time it worked, I think, because of the pressure put on them because of the governor's case. That's my opinion.
Right. Yeah. No, I agree. Yeah. So I'm surprised that right after her, talking about that quote and him being on record as saying that he didn't have anything to say. The only thing that I could imagine would deter him from denying it is being a topic, a feature topic on this program for the next week when, the whole thing was recounted over and over. He's probably trying to avoid that.
Well, I also turned in a report to the police where I repeated everything that happened in that room. He had actually physically attacked me. And of course, he had a secretary. Oh, no, he never even came close to touching you. Yeah, well, that was something pressing into my chest and sure felt like his belly. At least I hope that's what it was. But yeah, that's just odd. If you can get somebody to lie for you, woohoo. Yeah. Too bad I didn't have anybody in the room with me to lie for me, but I don't need that. Simon Hare took off and left a dust swirl behind him, man. I mean, he was gone like an instant.
I was right out the other side of the door, and Dale every time never ceases to mention, hey, where were you, pal?
Yeah, that's right.
I would say as soon as
on the other side of the glass, I'm behind glass. Help me.
Well, the thing is that the glass is smoked a little bit there, and as soon as you open the door and get out on the street, you're overcome really by the street noise there. And so I didn't hear any. All of this took place without me hearing about it.
And in another world, there may be plenty of people who would question every last thing that you and I say. But we've got pretty good credibility now because every time we've said something, almost every time, we've got videotape to back it up. And that's not even a help sometimes. I mean, when you've got an elected legal counsel representing the people of this county who says what you have on tape is not what you have on tape, it almost doesn't matter to some people whether it's on tape or not.
Right. Yeah. No, that's true.
He was even in the courtroom when it happened and still question about whether it happened or not. I see no functional difference between Wally Hicks in that courtroom listening to it happening and it being on tape and it being on the court transcript and the people who were at that church where the pastor said, questioning authority is like devil worship, the sin of
divination.
Yeah. And people say, oh, no, that never happened. What's the difference between those crazy people and this crazy person?
No, not really any. I think, people have their own agendas, but they should know, they should understand that, generally speaking, most of the time we have video to back up everything, and to not say silly things when they know that video is going to be popping up. And it's too bad that we don't have video of Wally Hicks saying that no, you don't have that on video, because that would really
he's never denied that he said it either. When you've got one of these things pointed at you, which we should always do with all police, the FBI, the BLM, the county commissioners. We
I
should
agree with
always
that.
have one of these pointed at them so that we've got our own record. Now you have the media on your side, and this is the thing that's really driving them wild, because we are the media and we are on your side. And so,
How much is that camera today, Dale?
how much is
That was
now?
I'm
I should do this.
Yes, yeah, that's right. Yes,
Vanna White.
yes.
You know, when our audience skews a little less toward gray and a little more toward pink, what would you say the opposite side with kids, younger people? We're going to have to explain every reference. They're not going to know what we're talking. Vanna White, they're not going to know what we're talking about.
Well, Vanna, listen, in Vanna's defense, she's still doing it. So, I mean,
But they don't watch that show.
Yeah,
they don't watch
probably
that.
don't, but yeah, but if you're making references to Outer Limits and things of that nature,
No, they're not going to know what that is.
A little bit more obscure. However, if you have cut the cord, which I have, and all you have to choose from is what is on the antenna and what is on the internet, which is just about everything now, but they're playing Outer Limits episodes on Antenna TV here, not Antenna TV, but I mean it's one of those sub channels of the main channels here. And now I'm really getting off in the way we. Now
back to our sub channel.
Well, and in the past week, okay, I have been watching Hogan's Heroes. Let's see.
There's a big story behind that one, buddy. Oh man.
Yeah. I know. Bob, that guy, Bob. What's his name? Little crazy.
Bob Crane.
Bob Crane. That's right. And
a couple of the girls on the show.
Yes, I'm sure. Leave It to Beaver. A number of you say I haven't
almost the same kind of thing. Yeah.
Okay, but it's been on in the background, and so the people do have an opportunity to have exposure to some of this older stuff that Gilligan's Island was on not all that long ago. That was really crazy. And there was one other thing that I wanted to mention, and now I forgot what it was.
Did it have something to do with Gilligan's Island?
No, it didn't.
Can we get back to our show?
Yes. Perhaps.
I want to get off this island. Okay.
Darn, it was really important.
He's such a lovely guy. Really is.
Important.
Okay. Here's Catherine Austin again, who's also got other kinds of important things to say. Catherine?
We're here to speak truth to power, okay? You work for us. In the world, the global economic system is collapsing. We all know it. And a big issue we have is our relativity to the land. The people need to be on the land. We don't need the global agendas, the one world government coming in and pushing down our throat that they want to take over the land and regulate everything. The state regulating the water, monitoring our wells. You know, we know where this is going. We don't have a right to be on the land. Everything that we have and everything that keeps us out of being enslaved shackles is our ability to live on the land and have a relative use to this land. Not corporations, not corporate government, maritime law dictating our lives. We need to be able to live on the land and have a respectful relationship with the land and be able to make a decent living. And we don't need corporations coming in and taking over mining and logging, but we need to be able to use resources. Everything that we have comes from the earth, and we have a relationship to the earth. And we need you guys to work with us. We don't need dictates. We don't need, I think we do need to police ourselves more. We need to have neighbors that know each other and care about each other, and that'll be there for each other when they have a hard time. Instead of depending on the big government, the insurance, the grants, all the grant money. Do you know that that adds to the national debt that is ruining our country? Nothing comes for free. Everybody's worried about wanting to go out and get grant money. Grant money costs us. Somebody pays for it. Somebody has to work and make that money.
Do you guys remember when Diane Hoover came before the county commissioners and started off by saying good news? She said it twice. It was no mistake. Good news, the infant mortality rate in Josephine County is up, so we're going to get more money.
Yeah, and that's the grant. You know, I agree on the grants thing there. I think that is something that we ought to be concerned about. Where is that money coming from? That obviously either comes out of somebody's pocket instantly, or the federal government has to print money for that. If that's a federal government grant. If it's coming from the state of Oregon, then taxpayer money is already being, is already paying for that. Not really a whole lot of difference between those two things. I do have an issue with, and this is something that she mentioned, them wanting to monitor your wells, because ultimately at some point they do want to do that. They have floated.
But she was saying that they'd want to. She was agreeing with you, wasn't she?
Oh yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. I have an issue with that idea, not with her saying it.
Okay.
It has been floated a number of times where I've heard where they want to actually come out and put a meter on your well. You know,
yes.
If they come out and put a meter on my well, then listen, it's bad enough I'm paying property tax. If they come out and put a meter on your well, you truly do not own your property anymore. I mean, this is just, I mean, why don't I just go, why don't you just truck water into me then if I'm going to pay you for the usage of my well? Somehow you have decided that you have rights. In that same as having mineral rights. After that, if they analyze my water and discover that, some of the elements that are in there are, perhaps conducive to, gold discovery on my property, what's to stop them from just kicking me out and digging my property up to find the gold or whatever? I mean, it's a silly thing. And the less government we have involved in our lives, the better I like it. I think there is a little bit of an issue there. She's saying, I think people are too hung up on corporations personally, because, as soon as I start a business and I want to, protect myself and have the best situation for me in terms of dealing with tax law and things like that, I'm going to incorporate. And then what happens? Am I now an evil corporation? No, I'm not. And not every corporation is evil. And and if they fire up the timber industry in this county again, are there going to be some corporations running it? Yes. And, it doesn't matter if they sold it to, three brothers 2 days later, they would be a corporation and they'd be. So, I think you need to take that, one instance at a time. I understand the sentiment there, but,
I think she's talking about really big corporations, although I can imagine that some people would think that some really big corporations are good ones.
Well, it's certainly that has to be the case. Listen, you know what? We all like the products that we buy, which are quality and cheap. And, a lot of the people that create that stuff, they're corporations, and we all talk on our iPhones while we complain about Wall Street,
Lucasfilm is a big corporation. I think it is. Right. I don't know how you feel about Disney, but Disney owns a lot of things, and I like to think of them as a good corporation. Yeah. I don't know.
Disney owns Lucasfilm there.
Yes, that's what made me think of that. So, right. Yes, it does. And it's acquiring other companies. Okay.
Okay.
I'm not especially afraid of that, but
listen, in terms of that thing, and I'll just throw this one thing out there and then we can move on. Corporations do not have the power to come into your house and take you out kicking and screaming. They don't have the power to arrive at your house with guns and say, buy my Coca-Cola. Do it right now. No, you do that by choice. And you don't.
Oh, now hold on a second. As they say in the movies, who's being naive now, Mr. Jones? You're saying Coca-Cola can't come and hold you with a gun and make you buy things? Coca-Cola? Have you ever really looked into them, Mike Jones?
Yes. No, listen, the thing is, we have choices. If you don't like corporations, don't buy their products. If you don't like corporations, don't work for them. Okay? You know, other than that, you know, I'm fine now. I'm fine now. We can move on.
Okay, now we can go back to the government metering or monitoring
Yes.
our broadcast.
Yes. Okay.
Here we go. Here we go. Catherine Austin again.
I'm sorry.
Don't be sorry.
You know, I'm really disappointed in Simon. I mean, if he was a humble person, he should be willing to step down. But he's going to force us to recall him. I have petitions. You know, waste of money. And I agree. You know, if relatively for how much the people in this valley make or in this county, and you guys' salaries should be reflective of that. And if we need to make an adjustment, I mean, like, I'm tired across the whole political spectrum, from the left to the right, of all the stuff that is expecting the government to solve problems and all the hatreds. I'm done with it. But I know one thing is that if our public officials can't be willing to stop taking pay increases and step down to like be willing to work with the people when we have financial hard times, we're never going to make it.
Amen. No one in the county has had pay increases for almost 5 years.
What's your actual salary?
Pardon?
What is your actual salary, by the way?
It is 74.
74?
Wow, which by the way is less than I made when I retired.
I only asked so I had a conversation when we were all over the board, so I wasn't sure.
Yeah. Okay, the gentleman over there with the recap.
Let me answer some of your questions you brought up. Valid one.
Now, before he answers some of the questions, you brought up valid points, only the valid ones. Did you have anything else to say about what she said so far, Mike?
Well, 74,000. You know, they all say they took
that's
a pay
before
cut.
that's before the
Yeah,
medical
that's
retirement. Retirement. Why would we pay them retirement?
Yeah, and retirement is huge.
I got a different kind of retirement plan for these two.
Yeah.
It's out the door retirement plan.
Yeah, you get, you know, somewhere on the order of, you know, it's 100 plus. I know it's 100 plus by the time they're done with all the benefits. I'm pretty sure anyway.
So what he's going to try to say here, you'll listen to him saying this. What he's going to try to say is, look, I have many times asked for my salary to be lower, and they just won't let me do that. Now, the lie about that is, okay, that is right on the surface. It's correct on the surface. Mm-hmm. What he's going to say here is, and what he said many times, so I already know what he's going to say, is that I don't like the idea of taking in all this money and then giving it away to a charity, and you're then paying me to give it away to a charity. But we're still giving him the money. But he's now not giving it to the charity.
Yes, right. He likes it better when he gets to keep all the money himself. Of course, who wouldn't like that? That's fantastic. I want that.
Now, I asked him at one of the weekly business sessions quite a while back when he was first saying this, is I mentioned, well, you're still getting the money. So now even a charity isn't getting the benefit of it. Well, 10% to his church or whatever. But if you were taking $30,000 a year, which it says in the charter, well, we don't have to do that. No, you don't have to. Some judge somewhere says you don't have to. But this is what the public has said. And you've said that you're going to follow the charter. You've held up your hand. You've said you're going to follow the charter, and you're not following the charter. So the way to do it is to take all the money in. If it's ordered by some goofy judge somewhere, and we know at least one goofy judge who would do that, don't we, Mike? And
yeah, I don't know.
Well,
you know, we know he's a little fast and loose with definitions, but I don't know that he would necessarily. I don't know where he comes down on abdicating for particular policy.
Okay, so it is certainly possible that perhaps somebody would say you've got to do it. So what you do is you take the whole amount of money, you keep the 30, which it says in the charter, and you give the rest of it to charity. You give it to a 501c3 or a charity. And here's the thing that he doesn't want. Well, then I'd have to pay all the taxes. Yeah, well, no one would pay all the taxes. Yes, they would. If they're serious, they would. They would take it all in, pay all the taxes from that amount, and then only keep the 30. That's all.
Yeah. What would the difference be? You know what? A little bit more accountant homework or something like that. I mean, is that what the gripe is? No one would pay. Listen, if someone would take the lower salary and donate the rest to charity, then why wouldn't you take this lower salary and then you would take some of that money that you got paid over that amount to pay whatever the taxes were on the amount over that amount, and then donate the rest to charity? That's pretty basic to me. I don't understand the problem, but
that is don't listen, Mike. That is the Dale Matthews plan. Absolutely. What's wrong with that?
I didn't hear what you said. So
right. So we'll talk about him behind his back later. Okay. Here's Keith Heck attempting to explain why he wants the entire amount and won't be doing what she suggested. Not going to follow the charter. Don't ask me to follow the charter. I'm a highly paid executive.
One, I think the rear end and backwards approach, the salary situation.
He's going to take the rear end, all right.
Uh-oh.
I felt strongly about the last 3 years. I have asked for a reduction of my salary. Individually, I cannot force that. It has to be approved by the budget committee. It has not been approved.
Oh, really?
Why do you need to talk to the rest of the budget committee? Why just gave it up? Pardon me?
Yeah.
I find a difficulty in expecting you to pay money that I'm going to give away. I mean, I just have a difficulty with that.
Okay, Mike.
Yes, because I'd rather, I think that you would rather that I had it myself as opposed to giving it away.
All right, so let's take that. Cheryl's never offered to do this, and certainly Simon has never offered to do this, okay? Simon was the one that ran on the idea that he wasn't going to take PERS, and then once he made it into his 5th year, he asked for, and got it, for PERS to be retroactive to back when he promised. Oh, right. Really? Yes. Oh, really is right. So what Cheryl could do, every time I drive by the children and it's closed down, why, I just burst into tears and collide with the snowbank on the side and then run out into, well, whatever. Yeah, that's what she does every time. Well, then, Cheryl, what you should do is you should get some friends of yours, because you got plenty of them at the Rotary Club, and you get them to start a 501c3 charity, right? And then you take $30,000 from the charter as the people have demanded, and then you give all the rest of that money to that charity that will take care of those children, and then your problem is solved.
Yeah, that's right. Exactly.
You won't have to pay an extra dime in taxes.
Okay, if we just round it out to 40, because they said 74, okay, so if we just rounded out that 40,000 would be available from each one of them, with all three, that would be $120,000 that we could, that would buy a deputy probably,
or do some fake water testing.
Right? Yeah. Right. Exactly.
That story that we told you last night is that guy just charged the county $77,000 for, according to the investigation that's done, so 1 month of work. 1 month of work for $77,000 out of $135,000 for the year.
Right. That's Eric Shafsma. And now he has applied to Josephine County politics and been accepted. Vivian let him into the group, and he hasn't said anything. All he's doing is trolling posts to find out what people are saying about him, so that I guess he'll know how to respond when this comes before the board here next week. Maybe he'll catch enough of a clue from the comments that are going back and forth inside that group that perhaps he should back it up a little bit, or back it off a little bit.
One start would be to show an itemized, you think we're ever going to see this?
Right.
To show an itemized budget of how he spent $77,000 or earned $77,000 in 1 month out of a year.
Hey, and another thing, Dale, speaking of budgets and line items and things of that nature, I don't remember hearing it spoken about in the budget committee hearings there about this year's request on behalf of Keith to have his salary reduced. And I don't remember the debate going back and forth about that. And it seems to me that probably would have ended up as an insert on our show.
Well, what actually happened is Keith Heck has asked for that every year for 3 years, including at the budget hearing this last time around. And where it came up was when Larry West of the Elected Officials Compensation Committee came forward and made a suggestion. It was the very first thing on the very first day. And and the part that did make the all that was Larry West, and the reaction we got from the Elected Officials Compensation Committee when there was one public comment, just one, and the whole thing that was from me, and J.J. Schofield tried to shut me up by not allowing me to speak at all, and then the budget guy, our finance director, said that's quite right to make Mr. Matthews be quiet because the public cannot speak at the EOCC meeting, which of course came as a surprise to everybody because I've done that for the last 3 years, trying to get them to pick a comparator county or counties that would compare with our economic conditions, which they don't.
Yeah, which has nothing to do with Keith and actually requesting his salary. I was not aware of that. I would have thought something like that would have been mentioned on this show, but I guess not. And then certainly there had to be some debate if he's mentioning it and it's a topic inside the budget committee. How come there wasn't debate on that, and how come we didn't have that?
Because he knew that the debate this time was the same as it was the first time he brought it up. What happened was he pressed harder for it the first time. He just let it go the second time. And this time it only took a couple of minutes maximum. And what happened the first time was, before we even had the show, of course, was that Keith said, well, I really would like this. And the other two commissioners voted it down. They didn't want to do that.
Right. Yes.
He brought it up not only at the budget committee, but also at a weekly business session. Go ahead, Mike.
I understand the reasoning behind them not wanting to be for that, because then all eyes would be on them. Like, okay, what are you going to do now? And they didn't want to have to deal with that pressure. I get that.
Now, I went to a meeting where a bunch of different candidates several months ago got together, people who thought that they might run. And the first question I asked, and I've mentioned this before, is how many of you could raise your hand up high enough to actually be able to see it, that you would not back, that you think that we deserve, that the public deserves a 4-year moratorium, just a break on the idea of being constantly pushed with a property tax. And there were only, as I recall, only 2 people in the room who held their hand up, right? So that you could see it. Not just held it up underneath the table, but up so that you could see it. I also asked the question on the same thing is, I got 2 questions in. The other one was, how many of you would follow the charter and accept, as the charter says, and as the people have voted, that you would only take $30,000 a year? I was the only one who held up my hand. Now we have one more, just one more that I know of. And that's this brand new guy, Raymond Smith.
Oh, and what? He said that he would only take 30,000?
That's correct. He's going to stick by the charter.
Okay.
So, all right. Now back to Keith Heck with his explanations.
I mean, I would consider what I do with my money as my responsibility. So I would have no problems at all sitting down with you individually. I'll show you my personal budget, my personal income, and how much I give out and how much I give away to the church and other organizations that I provide. I give away, suffice it, I give away more than 10% of what money I receive every year. But I don't think that I ought to look to you to provide me the money to give to where I want to give it.
So I'll keep it all.
I ought to have less money than I can give away. But I have not won that battle yet. So that's on the money issue. As the land issue, I have been very outspoken and very aggressive in the sense of supporting the no GMO stand. Been this anti-spray situation, been very strong in that. And so there's been a consistency as far as my own personal situation has been on some of those positions. You started off by the multiple phases of ethics or whatever it was, I forget how you phrase it.
The ethics board violations that you've been cited.
We have not yet been found guilty by the ethics
You
board.
have a chance to rebut,
No.
you know how this
Okay, but,
system works.
well, then if you knew how the system worked, you wouldn't say what you said.
But why are they doing this mess to begin with? It's crony corruption, people like in the
Hold on.
government that are
Can you allow
citing.
me to talk and to finish? If I asked you, what were we charged by the cronyism? The cronyism was January, February, and March. We had 3 months of potential of having 12 executive session meetings to where they're closed to the public, where we discuss it, we read our decision at the open meeting when it opens back up. So the maximum there is 12. We had an agenda that we have. We list out different points that we're going to talk about during the executive session, public knowledge. And we also had a final entry, matters from commissioners, because there was occasionally, I think
For 15 years.
yeah.
Wrong. That's a lie.
Multiple years, but the point being is that whether it was or wasn't, not needed here or there. The point being, of the potential 12, there are probably 3 or 4 times we actually had something under that matters from commissioners that had to be reported on when we went back to the public session. So it wasn't the idea that it was a super secret thing. So because of that and how it was handled on the agenda, that's what the complaint was, that we violated the open meetings law.
Mhm.
Okay. We still have not yet resolved that. I mean, it's still, the final gavel hasn't been rendered yet. It's in the process of it, but not yet has been rendered. Now, there's been all kinds of, there's been activity behind the scenes of trying to resolve this because of the Ethics Commission trying to finish the product. And
The penalty phase.
Finished product as well. Even if the worst case scenario of the finished product, they're going to say to us, you ought not to have done that, you need to do it differently. Well, we've already changed that the first time we were notified of it.
No.
We took that open end off the agenda, so it hasn't been that way. And I just, if you want an ethics situation, $73,000 in 3 years spent on travel, I think that's a serious concern. The items that we have been charged with, I've been charged with as one of the members of the commission. It might have been technically wrong. That still hasn't been said because we did everything under the advice of legal counsel. So
Mm-hmm.
And
Well, Wally was potentially being charged too, except that the.
well, I'm just saying we just don't do it legally. We just don't do things on our own. I guess some of you might. I'm certainly not going to believe the charge of that one. So it's on a scale of 1 to 10. Was it giving it the worst case scenario? Was it wrong? Okay, it was wrong.
He's never said that before.
Was it criminal? No.
Okay, can I just, let's just sum this up and
There was no way.
Okay,
I'm saying there was no
let's
way.
just sum this up and say the fact is that we find ourselves in this situation, and if you're working for us, wouldn't it behoove you to work more openly with us and not be so trying to do things that are.
Let me answer that.
That's Keith Heck. That's what he looks like.
Yeah.
Not a very happy camper.
Well.
So, yeah, then Cheryl says, well, let me answer that. And you can just imagine, I cut this part out finally, not because I don't want to let her answer that, but what she started to do is talk about, do you realize what time I got up this morning? What does this have to do with anything? Why, I've had my phone on all day long.
Yes, I'm working 16 hours a day.
That's exactly right.
Working for the county, yes, the Martyr Complex.
That's exactly what she did. It's exactly what she did. It had nothing to do with the question. And then Catherine Austin comes in at the end and says, okay, great, but that's got nothing to do with my question. But Cheryl's answer to that lasted like 5 minutes. You know what she does.
Yeah.
Okay.
Not much.
And you know, it's I'm not trying to get anyone to feel sorry for me, but I've been working so hard and I've been working for you, and think about the children. It's like, oh, please. And I look back at Catherine, I'm going like this, and she's going, you know. So, and Keith, this is the very first time that Keith has not said that they're not found guilty. This is the very first time that he said it correctly. It's matters from commissioners. It's the very first time that he said, well, even if we did something, you know, it really wasn't that big a deal, except the only thing is that they could serve, if they got the book, if the book, and I told you what I wanted for Christmas, Mike, they could have spent time in prison. That's how serious this, prison time is how serious this is, and a fine. Now, they're not going to do that. The state didn't want to find them guilty in the first place, but there was overwhelming evidence, and due to a lot of different kinds of pressures, they finally did. But now you got Cheryl still saying, oh, it's been done like this for hundreds of years. No, it hasn't. No, it hasn't. So she's continuing to completely lie about it. What is she going to say after they get their guilty verdict? Well, we're going to appeal it, and we'll have the appeal sometime after November. The latest that I've heard, and this is 3 weeks old, a month old, they haven't even asked to appear in front of the commission. Well, if they're serious about wanting to challenge this, why haven't they asked? Probably the same reason they told their lawyer, don't even bother calling in. All right, more of Catherine Austin, and we're almost done.
What's going on when you guys are, and I mean, something I was just aware of recently was the fact that you got in with some folks and you were ready to give away $135,000 for testing water out of the dam, Fielder Dam removal. And people came in and with Nielsen Research donating testing proved that the water didn't have any lead or arsenic in it. It was fine, but you were willing to give some guy a contract for $135,000 to test the water and you were talking about, Cheryl, how we're bleeding money and we need to do anything to stop the bleeding. And yet it took citizens stepping up to say, hey, put the brakes on that and don't spend that money. It's not needed.
Well, we put safeguards in that contract so that we could terminate it at any time. And anytime someone comes to us that we think we have a concern, I would much rather protect people. Look what's happened back in Michigan with our lead in the water.
Yeah.
I would much rather take the initiative to protect it. And we had to act quickly, but we had protections in the contract. And when we found the information, and when information was additionally brought to us, we terminated the contract. And we did have some test results that show there is no problem with the water. But I would much rather have been safe than sorry. I would much rather said, no, I'm not going to talk to these people, and we're going to wait until next fall and then find out that there's something wrong with the water. It's better to take the action first.
So what that guy is asking is, why didn't you have somebody test it before you signed the contract?
Yes, of course. No,
which
that's
all of us were saying.
Which, by the way, is what the private citizens who did this did, and you know what? She'd rather err on the side of safety, and guess what? That's only going to cost us $77,000. That's what's
for 1 month of work.
For the 1 month of work, and here I have a comment, and this is from. Theoretically from the Mr. Shaftsma, that the testing is much more complex than someone who has not worked in the field their whole adult life would understand. And so
it's one of those, it's too hard for mere citizens to understand arguments. Yes, we've heard this many times. Right. We can pay for it, but we can't understand it. So we're just asking you to pay for something that you don't understand.
Right. And, you know, listen, I give the same level of credibility to that statement as I do when Cheryl Walker says, you just don't understand economic development. You know, it's about the same thing.
That's very interesting that he's watching the show live. Hi there. How you doing?
No.
It came roundabout through somebody else.
Yes,
I see.
Round
Well, whoever it is, hello, how are you? Nice to see you. Okay, glad that you're watching the show. Please explain to us how $135,000 in 1 year could end up being $77,000 in 1 month. Send Mike a text, on this, okay?
I would explain it to you, Dale, but you wouldn't understand it.
Yes. Okay. A little bit more of Catherine Austin. Or no, it's Cheryl Walker explaining herself.
To people's health and safety. That's my responsibility as commissioner, to protect the health and safety of the people in the county. That's number one.
That was going to sit real tort liability without doing it.
Exactly. If we would have done nothing, and there was something found in that water 6 months from now, and we did nothing, what would you be saying to me now?
I'd be saying, why didn't Grants Pass do anything?
Yeah, right.
So that if we find out otherwise,
Yeah, but there's a little problem with that. Grants Pass wasn't even doing it, and what were we using the water for? Watering the lawn on a park. Yeah. And so who's gonna sue us for that? Ms. Cheryl Walker?
Yeah, you know what?
What a bunch of bull, really.
But yeah, but
hey, whoever's watching, it's a bunch of bull.
Yes, and why does it not occur to these people inside of government that you can do the same things that we do? It occurred to Vika Nicodian and Lori Johansson to go out and test the water and see what going on out there. The same thing could have been done. As a matter of fact, they didn't even shop this bid around to a number of different people. There was only, Eric Shaftsma, as far as I know. And
okay, wait, just a second. Sorry, Mike. Sorry. I don't like doing that to Mike. According to the commissioners, they put out the bid to 3 companies, and only one of them responded.
Okay. But interestingly, the most qualified lab to do this type of testing in the state is in Grants Pass, and was not one of the
respondents.
Of the companies, yes, companies contacted to do the bid.
It was not one of the respondents. Sorry, Bud. It was not one of the respondents.
Okay, they weren't contacted either, were they?
They were. They were not one of the respondents. That's why I keep trying to say it this way. Apparently, according to the commissioners,
what did they just not get the letter or something?
I don't know. I don't know what did, but to show that they were interested, when Viken and Lori went to them and paid a relatively small amount to have the first test done, after that test was done, these guys said, we'll do all the rest of the tests for free. Right. So I'm not saying there's anything wrong with a profit motive, but their response was, this is an important public health issue, and we're happy to help.
Okay.
That's probably somebody in the background trying to call you to get you to turn this show off.
Yeah, well, I mean, we're about done anyway, and I never know that amount of calling. There may be something serious going on here. So
okay, we're almost done. Almost done. Here we go.
Which is what we did. We terminated it.
I know, but just the idea, $135,000 to test water, when people went and did it for no cost, with the company agreeing to test it. I mean, it's just
not naming the names and anything else, but it's amazing how all these people did not show themselves ahead of time or even after the fact was made. When we asked for testimony, we asked for open bids. That one company refused to bid. So, you know, there's always more to the story than what meets the eye.
They're doing it now for free.
So, well, sometimes you get what you ask for free.
Oh, is that? Oh,
wow.
Okay.
Yeah.
So sometimes you get what you pay for.
Oh, well, if you don't believe them, then how come we're not contracting with that other company still?
Nice answer. Sometimes you get what you pay for. What do you think she means by that, Mike? They're offering the service for free.
I don't even care what she means by that. That's where I'm at on that one.
Okay, so Mike has got to go answer the phone or pick up
Yes.
the phone and find out who it was that was so desperately trying to call him.
Yeah.
I hope it's not anything bad. I hope that your water is fine, Mike, and I hope that yours is too, our audience. We were glad to bring this to you, and we'll continue bringing you news from Josephine County that you won't hear anywhere else.